perfect guy to talk about this crazy Raja Jackson situation because former UFC fighter, MMA fighter, and now pro wrestler. He knows the world. He knows everything. He knows what goes on backstage, indie shows, non-indie shows, all this stuff. It was the perfect Venn that middle part. This is the guy right here. And he's kind enough to join us following recent hip replacement surgery. He's your friend and mine, the one and only Filthy Tom Lawlor on the program. Is he doing well? Are you okay, Tom? How's recovery going?
Yes. I mean, all things considered, I'm doing pretty good. I am 2 weeks out to the day from a total hip replacement surgery. The doctor said that I probably waited about a year too long to get it done. And for anybody who saw me trying to go out there and wrestle over the past few months, I mean, it was pretty apparent that something was wrong. And, I just treated the wrong things over the past 18 months and it never got better. And, I found myself with extreme arthritis at the age of 42 that required a full hip replacement. But, almost immediately I could stand up straight. I could lay down on my back flat, which I haven't been able to do for over a year. So, I was happy with that. And recovery seems to be going well. It's just really slow and boring, to be honest. I feel like I could do so much more, but I guess that's part of the battle is doing the recovery properly instead of at my own pace.
Will you be able to resume your wrestling career?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of people who have had hip replacement and gone back to wrestle. Can I? Yes. I mean, will I? That remains to be seen. I mean, to be really honest with you, over the past few years, the juice that I've gotten hasn't been worth the squeeze. And, when you're left in a situation like I have been over the past 18 months or so, it puts things in a little bit different perspective. So I'm sure you'll see me in the ring again. No wrestler ever really retires. They just stop taking bookings. But I don't know if you'll see it as any sort of full-time gig for me.
By the way, last time we spoke was about the whole class action lawsuit, the settlement, and all that stuff. Just curious, have you received your money yet?
That, to my knowledge, unless something has changed, begins on September 30th.
Okay.
So I haven't received anything, but, that could always change. But from what I understand, September 30th, they initially had said third quarter 2025. And, well, I think that's the last day of the third quarter. So in order to keep their word, I guess you could say, it has to be done then. But yeah, I expect September 30th. I don't understand exactly how much I'm going to get yet. I don't know what the payout schedule is. So, hey, we'll see. But
okay, so it won't be all in one shot.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think they actually have 18 months themselves. They have a time period, if I remember correctly, from the day that I was at the court proceedings. I believe they have somewhere around 18 months or something to pay it out. I mean, from what I understand, to the UFC, all that money's in escrow, right? It's already been paid. It just has to be divided out to the fighters.
Okay.
I think some of that hold up is, they had the certain time frame in which fighters could claim and dispute their earnings report. And, that only ended, I think, in like July. So then they have to go back and, look at all those documents and come to a ruling on exactly how much everybody's going to get. So, I mean, it's paperwork and stuff that needs to be done. But, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of fighters in my boat who are hoping to get some money sooner than later. And for me, I don't know if it could come at a better time.
Yeah, no, and that's why I was asking. I know I'm going on a completely different direction here, but just while we're on the topic, I'm sure you saw Renato Moicano's stance on not taking the money. What did you think of that?
I mean, class A bonehead move. Just take the money. I mean, the UFC's paying it out already. I believe that they, even told the fighters, like, look, we're giving that money up. Hey, if he's going to make that back in the long run by, standing his ground and standing on his morals, then so be it. I'm happy for him if that makes him happy. But I mean, the UFC wasn't, they're not looking out for everybody. You got to take what you can get. Your kids don't eat on morals and legacy always.
Yes. And do you stand to gain from the other lawsuits that are currently pending, or do those not affect you?
No, they don't affect me
Okay.
whatsoever. I don't think Phil Davis was talking about me when he was talking about that top level competition that he can't fight. So.
All right. Well, your breakdown of all of that was great, and we appreciate it very much. The reason I wanted to have you on was to talk about this Raja Jackson situation. I know you've weighed in on social media, also on Wrestling Observer Live. Now that you've had a week or so to digest it, what did you? Okay, let me ask you this things first, because it seems to be the most newsy item coming out of this as we sit here a week later. The fact that nothing has happened to Raja, the fact that there's been no arrest, criminal charges, or anything, does that surprise you?
I mean, as an independent professional wrestler, when you think about it, absolutely not. I mean,
Really?
there's things that go. Am I surprised that he has been picked up? No. And I think part of that is where it took place. I mean, pro wrestling, even today in 2025, and especially, really on the independent level, is lawless to a certain degree. And I mean, there's receipts when it comes to this, but the company itself, Knox Pro, was, trying to handle this kind of in-house. So no, I'm not surprised that Raja Jackson hasn't been picked up.
At this point, do you expect anything to happen?
No, no. I mean, maybe a civil lawsuit coming out of Psycho Stu. But I mean, it's already been a week. I don't know what evidence they're trying to gather. We saw it cut and dry. I mean, there's an hour 45 plus minute long video detailing the entire thing. I mean, this is unprecedented in many ways that we have the crime
Yeah.
that was committed on video and nothing's been done. So
Did you know Psycho Stu before all of this?
no, I don't know. I don't know Psycho Stu at all. I wasn't aware of him prior to this. I don't know him after this. And to be quite honest, I mean, Psycho Stu doesn't deserve what happened to him under any circumstances. He does not deserve to be attacked after the fact and hit with 21 unanswered blows. Psycho Stu doesn't deserve to spend time in the hospital after choking on his own teeth and blood in front of the crowd. But at the same time, Psycho Stu shouldn't have put his hands on Raja Jackson. Psycho Stu shouldn't have been in the back drinking and then acting, quite frankly, just odd to somebody that he doesn't know whatsoever. There's no winner in this situation, whether it's Raja Jackson, whether it's Psycho Stu, obviously, whether it's AJ Mana, whether it's Rikishi, whether it's the other owners of Knox Pro. There's not one person that came out of this situation. Rampage. There's not one person that came out of the situation looking better than they did going in. And I mean, it's just a tragedy on so many levels. I mean, Raja Jackson may have ruined his life as far as, being a celebrity or being in the public eye goes. Obviously, Psycho Stu facing major health repercussions because of this. And, AJ Mana, another guy involved, sounds like he lost his job. So, yeah, a lot of losers coming out of this situation.
Yeah. And I think some people want there to be like a black and white winner category, loser category. I just think there's just like multiple levels of idiots in all of this. Obviously, what Raja did was the worst, even though he was reacting to something else. My feeling, you're in this world, so I wanted to ask you, based on like how you saw it all play out backstage, Raja Jackson isn't just showing up to some indie show with 50 people in attendance just because he's a fan of pro wrestling. Like they tried to make something because they knew he had a stream and there was a camera right there, and the whole thing obviously went off the rails. what I don't understand is when the owner and the promoters are coming up to him and saying like, "Yo, you could get yours." He clearly isn't speaking the same language as them. He thinks, getting his payback means like beating the crap out of the guy. They're thinking it of a pro wrestling angle. What is wrong with these people? Are they just completely entrenched in the world of pro wrestling where they think everything is one big work? That's the part that I couldn't understand. Like, they're clearly not speaking the same language, and they let the guy just go in there and beat the crap out of their own guy.
Yeah, I mean, the owners and the people backstage made it a point afterwards. AJ Mana made it a point to point out that, hey, this guy Raja Jackson, he's not a worker. Psycho Stu, you can't go up, and it's like you can't go up and just hit somebody in the hand or in the head with a beer can. Even if the can was empty, he didn't go up. People said Psycho Stu walked up and put his hand on the side of his head and hit it. That's not what happened. Psycho Stu took the can and he hit it on the side of his head and neck and crushed it with that same hand to give the effect. He doesn't know Raja Jackson. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be going up and doing that. And then everybody steps in and they go, well, hey, you can't do that. Like, he's not a worker. And then they speak to him as if he is a worker. The owner, he said, you can go back in there. We'll make a thing out of it. Yeah. You can go back in there and you can fuck him up. And that's when Raja Jackson goes, oh, wait a minute. You mean I can go back in there? I can get mine back on him. And that seems to kind of, calm him down a little bit. But at the same token, then Raja Jackson goes up and he says, oh, it's all good. It's okay. I understand now. Well, clearly, either you didn't understand or you're lying about that. And a lot of the blame not only needs to go on Raja Jackson, but the people running the show. And I think one of the things that's, everybody wants to point a finger, but there's not been one person that has taken any shred of responsibility for what happened on any level. The owners of Knox Pro, unless I've missed something, they did put out a statement, but they haven't taken responsibility. Rampage seems not to want to take responsibility for it. Raja Jackson has said nothing. So it's terrible on so many levels. And, for the people at Knox Pro, I'm sure there's plenty of fantastic people, as there are at every independent pro wrestling show that goes on. There's people who are doing this, to try to reach their dream of being in WWE, AEW, make a life out of this. There's people who are using it as an escape, which kind of sounds like what Psycho Stu was doing. And, Knox Pro lost its WWE ID designation. It was one of, I believe, five schools in the country that had this WWE ID designation where, hey, if you want to learn how to work up the talent ladder and get to the pinnacle of this sport, of this profession, this is one of the places you go to. And after seeing it on video, after obviously what Raja Jackson did, they had that pulled. So there's people at Knox Pro who are, who are going to feel the repercussions of this forever in their careers, who had nothing to do with it.
Had you ever heard of Knox Pro before this?
Yeah, I had heard of it.
Are they respected?
Yeah, I mean, I had never heard anything remotely like this. You know what I mean? People will take a look at the video, and I'm one of them. You take a look at it and you go like, hey, it looks like they're changing like a chop shop in the back. But hey, that's just the way it goes in independent pro wrestling. Some of the venues you end up at, like, for instance, the Ukrainian Center in LA, which GCW runs all the time. People love going there to watch shows. There's no locker room in the back. It doesn't look too different than that. But, that's not what, at the end of the day, what makes or breaks the show, But it was just an overall bad look for everybody involved.
When you tweeted, hey, pro wrestlers, like, be careful who you trust, and it was that clip of AJ speaking to Raja, what did you mean by that?
Nobody has your back. You know what I mean? Whether you think it's your best friends in the business, whether you think it's a guy that you have beef with, whether it's the promoters, pro wrestling is a thankless endeavor. And at the end of the day, you're on your own.
Were you talking about AJ there, or were you talking about Raja or someone else?
I mean, speaking from my heart, speaking from myself, that was just a general statement. You know, it just so happened that as I was watching that the kick stream, because it was such big news, you know, I saw that clip and it stood out to me because that is exactly the thing that you hope one of your fellow wrestlers in the locker room would not do. That is the biggest faux pas. That's one of the biggest like insults to professional wrestling, is to tell somebody else, to harm somebody else physically. That is the whole reason for the sport. If you want to fight somebody, go be an MMA fighter. You know what I mean? The entire reason for professional wrestling is so that you can present the fight, but take care of the other person. And to see somebody else in the locker room tell an outsider, in a lot of ways, even though it's his friend, tell an outsider to go after one of the boys in the locker room. And granted, AJ Mana, after the fact, said that he was in character during that video. I've watched the video. Unless I missed something, I don't know when the switch goes on and off with that guy, but I perceived it to be somebody telling Raja Jackson to go after Psycho Stu. And when it's somebody who's a member of the fellow locker room, what are the wrestlers, Ariel? What's the number one word that they call each other?
The boys.
The boys, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, brother. I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy, you know?
No,
maybe my worst enemy.
You're 100% right. Like, and there's the other term, like working themselves into a shoot. It's like they're trying to hide behind the characters. Who knows what's real, what's not? It seems like they were all very excited that there was a camera there, and this was their chance to make an angle, and it went terribly, terribly wrong. At this point, is there any chance? Because I've been asked this 100 times, and I don't know the answer, and so you're the expert. Is there any chance? I'm almost ashamed that I'm asking it.
No.
Okay. You know what I was going to say, right?
Yeah, no. You nailed it. You nailed it right on the head. They worked themselves into a shoot. You know, whatever idea of kind of a work shoot, like, oh, let's use this idea from the stream now that people have seen this interaction between Stu and Raja. What transpired afterwards, unless there's large portions of video that we are not privy to, that we have not seen, it was just handled in such a negligent manner, with nobody in charge. And, you know, the outcome was what it was. It was an untrained guy who doesn't understand professional wrestling, who's in way over his head, who was being badgered, you know, egged on, humiliated by people on his kick stream. He even had his own father was calling him, asking him if he's hugging on a gay cowboy at the show. This all just, you know, festered and boiled and built up until we saw him go in there and unleash on Psycho Stu. I mean, you could see it building as time went by. And I've watched this video multiple times. I don't see an instance in which they give Raja Jackson any sort of clue as to what he's supposed to do. They ask him what his music's going to be. He actually gets up and goes to somebody to find out when he's supposed to go in there. And they send a guy that says, hey, I'll tap you on the shoulder to send you in there. But there's no other direction besides that, other than at the beginning when I believe it's Black Pearl says, hey, go in there and fuck him up.
What a disaster. What an absolute disaster. Can I ask, what do you think of the way Rampage has handled this?
I mean, it's tough because I can only imagine if my son or, you know, somebody that I had brought up, somebody I love, somebody I cared about, did something so blatant. You know, Rampage, obviously, people always bring up now the statement that he made. You know, he has college funds set aside for a couple of his children. Then he has bail money set aside for Raja Jackson. And yeah, I mean, you have to imagine that that's tongue in cheek, but there's something behind it. And the fact that Rampage continuously seemed like one of his biggest worries was this kick stream. Is Raja going to lose his ability to be on kick? Is he getting banned? I've got to think that Rampage, feels responsibility for even getting him on that kick stream. Obviously, he's trying to help his son out as much as he can. And, I'm sure he feels a ton of guilt. Even if you look in the comments of some of the things that he says, he agrees. He thinks Raja Jackson needs to do some jail time. So, I feel for Rampage in a way, but somebody has to step up and take responsibility at some point.
As an aside, I did notice you say that RAF, Real American Freestyle Wrestling, was better than CJI. It was sort of like an offshoot weekend of MMA with Dirty Boxing on Friday, Misfits on Saturday, RAF, CJI. Now, am I wrong? Am I wrong about this?
No, what 1,792 views?
What the heck,
pathetic,
bro? Is that
I got like 55,000 followers. That's all that tweet got.
Maybe
on, I put up. You can put up an AI of Zoe Dubois getting slapped on Power Slap, and it gets way more than that.
I think we took that screen grab right when you posted it, like within the first 10 seconds. Okay. Why? Tell us why. Why did you like RAF more than CJI?
Did you watch RAF?
I did not watch it live. I was out of the country, but I did see a lot of the clips. I loved the Holly Holm spot. Bo was great. I really enjoyed it, and I feel like they are onto something.
Yeah, I think one of the things that everybody was kind of worried about going into it was that it was going to be kind of a clown show, and they kept a lot of the pro wrestling aspects to a minimum. Eric Bischoff did go out there and cut a promo about beating Monday Night Raw for 83 weeks with Nitro in front of the Cleveland crowd in 2025, which seemed kind of out of place. The Tito Ortiz and Chael Sonnen face-off, while, it is kind of two old-timers, it is very pro wrestling in its vibe. It's not taking away from some of the other wrestlers. It's not like they're throwing Chael in there against, I don't know, Craig Jones in the main event or something. He's going to take on somebody else that's at that same level. There's a little bit of a story. And Tito, anytime you can get Tito Ortiz on the microphone nowadays, you're going to get sound clips galore. So even though that was, insulting to a portion of the audience, I enjoyed it. And one of the smartest things I think they did was set up matchups for Real American Freestyle Wrestling too. They would have title matches, but not just title matches in weight classes. They would also have contender matches, either afterwards or later on in the show or prior to the title matches themselves. It seemed like they constantly had a direction they were going in. Kyle Dake wins his match. They bring up, maybe him wrestling Jordan Burroughs in the future. Wyatt Hendrickson wins in the main event. And they bring out, the man who was basically in Wyatt Hendrickson's shoes before Wyatt Hendrickson was, and before Gable was, with Mason Paris, and they had a face-to-face. So I just thought the production was really good. It was, not insulting, which was my biggest concern going in, and the action really delivered.
We do have an update on the tweet, by the way. So in fairness to you, I wanted to show this was the original that we posted, 1792, and the update is well, why does it still say August? I thought maybe there was an edit or something. Anyway, we'll move. By the way, what about that Paris crowd for WWE this past weekend? That was incredible, right?
Hey, how can you not get fired up for Sheamus and Rusev taking the absolute snot out of each other? I'd give it 4.75 stars.
Yeah, I love that.
Still fantastic.
Come on, Logan versus John Cena. You had to have loved that.
Hey, everybody, not everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people like to hate on Logan Paul. And when you see how talented he is in the ring as a professional wrestler, I have a hard time hating on that guy. John Cena, always going to be one of the greatest of all time. For my estimation, I think he's I think he's the greatest of all time in the WWE at this point. So,
Wow.
always a big fan of watching John Cena, even as a heel. So,
Greatest of all time. I'm still not sure if I could go that far, but
WWE.
nah. Stone Cold, Rock. I mean, he has the
I
longevity.
didn't say he was better than Jumbo Tsuruda.
He has the longevity. He has the longevity, and he put in the time, and he was an incredible ambassador. But I still put Hogan, I put Rock, I put Austin ahead of him.
Hey, that's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's quite a Mount Rushmore right there.
That is by the way, is AJ coming back? Is it AJ and Punk?
Actually confirmed earlier today, according to Brian Alvarez, yes, at WrestlePalooza, it's going to be CM Punk and AJ Lee taking on Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch.
Crazy. What a time we're living in, right, Tom? I mean, ESPN covering WWE like this, the PLEs on ESPN, UFC going to Paramount Plus, billions of dollars, 0% of those dollars going to the fighters. I mean, what a time, right, Tom?
I'm still stuck on WWE and UFC being the same company.
Oh my God, yes.
Would I have imagined that? Never in my life would I have imagined that a WWE Hall of Famer would be the president, that there would be a UFC card being scheduled to take place at the White House. I mean, I was on UFC 100 and I couldn't believe that was taking place. So to still see it going, 16 years later and the heights that it's reached, hell, I'm an owner. I own part of the company.
That's true. It's a good point. No, for guys like you and I who were fighting the good fight, that wrestling is okay and you could be a wrestling fan and an MMA fan. Of course, you took it much further and you actually competed in both. It is still very much a weird thing seeing the two hand in hand these days.
Ariel, I remember the days when I would come on this show and you would kayfabe me. You'd kayfabe everybody. You'd kayfabe the listeners.
What?
Everybody, the world, and you would say, no, not a pro wrestling fan anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I did have that period. Look at me now. Yeah. Look at me now. I'm watching everything. TNA, AEW, everyone's killing it.
You got to start watching some Schwingen.
What's that?
Or maybe some Turkish oil wrestling.
Is that big these days?
All of it.
Wow. You do all this now. You watch all of it? You cover it?
I just had a hip replacement, buddy. I got some free time on my head.
Tremendous stuff. And you had a couple of viral tweets. Don't feel down about the 1,000. I saw your 2 million views and your 1.8 million views and stuff like that. So you're killing it as an influencer, reporter, media personality. Life's pretty good.
Message board troll.
Yeah, all those things. I was hoping that they would show some of those to boost your ego, but apparently we can't locate those. But I saw them. I definitely saw them.
If they can pull up some of my old Microsoft Paint drawings.
Oh, yeah.
Great MMA moments in history from the underground, that would be fantastic.
I remember those.
Finding those.
That's a whole other time period that a lot of fans these days have no idea what we're talking about, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Great times.
Good, because, I mean, everybody would be canceled from 20 years ago, no matter what you were doing.
Well, thank you, Tom. Get well soon. Appreciate the insight. Tremendous stuff. And if people want more Tom Lawlor, they can go wrestling. How often are you on there?
I am one of the co-hosts now with Brian Alvarez, along with Lance Storm on Wrestling Observer Live, Monday, Wednesday, and then usually one of the other days is my beat for the week. And you can find me on Twitter at Filthy Tom Lawlor, on Instagram at Filthy Tom Lawlor, on LinkedIn at Filthy Tom Lawlor.
You're the man. Thank you, Tom. All the best to you. Appreciate it. There he is, the great Filthy Tom. Great insight into the Raja Jackson situation, and perhaps somewhat surprising, saying he doesn't expect anything to happen at this point. Like they just want it to all go away. What a world. What a time. The tweet that he had that went viral was him talking about them pinning Stu after he had just been pummeled. Someone coming in there and pinning Stu, getting his spot in. What a weird situation that all is.